What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the AZ Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Humpherys. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching this either live or later. We're talking all things Arizona Cardinals, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Phoenix Suns on today's show. Let's get right into it. The Arizona Diamondbacks win a series against the Atlanta Braves. Diamondbacks won this series 2-1, winning the first two games Friday and Saturday and losing the final game of the series on Monday. Tonight, or in just a few hours from now, they are playing the Boston Red Sox, the Red Hot Red Sox in Boston, and it's a crucial series for the Diamondbacks to win. And there's reinforcements coming. We got Justin Martinez, Jordan Lawler back in the lineup, baby. The Diamondbacks decided to option Tyler Locklear and Gerardo Carrillo down to the minor leagues, which should come as no surprise for either of those guys. I'm excited because that means I think we're going to see Tim Tawa and Vargas splitting reps at first base. Tim Tawa can play anywhere. Vargas can play anywhere. Jordan Lawler, should he need to, he can play either outfield position, center, or left field, most likely. We'll see if he's used primarily as a DH just to save his hamstrings. We'll see about that. But he also has the ability to play third base and second base on the infield as well. He's played both of those positions frequently during his minor league career and a little bit at the major league level. So, how are the Diamondbacks going to use these reinforcements going forward? Well, I think it's pretty clear. Jordan Lawler is swinging a super hot bat. He hit 5 home runs last week for the Amarillo Sod Poodles, and Justin Martinez is throwing gas again. Now, we can debate who's going to have the bigger impact. I saw PHX underscore fans on Twitter said that I think it was him. He had a poll that said, who's going to be more impactful, Justin Martinez or Jordan Lawler? A lot of people said Justin Martinez because people think he's going to slide right into that closer role. I'm not sure how ready Martinez is going to be because when he's on, there's no one with more electric stuff in baseball. But it can get erratic at times, and I think he's going to have to build his way up through the rotation to get to become the team's go-to closer at the end of games. I think right now, realistically, they probably put him in seventh or eighth innings in kind of medium to high leverage spots. And if he performs well there, then they move him up into that closer role or the partner closer role with him and Brandon Garcia, who appear to be the two best young prospects that the Diamondbacks have in their bullpen. Also, you have to consider Juan Murillo, one of those guys as well. But right now, those two guys appear to be the Diamondbacks' best candidates to close baseball games for the rest of the season and perhaps into the postseason if the Diamondbacks can make it there. They're also going to need Jordan Lawler's bat, who, because this team needs help at the bottom of the lineup. And in this Braves series, it was primarily the top of the lineup guys that were getting things done. If you throw Arenado, who's usually batting from the 5 spot, in that top of the lineup spot now, part of that is shifted because Marte was out, and now Arenado doesn't look like he's going to the IL because he's out there taking batting practice right now in Boston. So good news there on the injury front. It looks like he's not going to go to the IL, but if there is some discomfort, I would guess that he probably takes a few days off, and that opens up the door for Jordan Lawler to get right in and get multiple games in a row. And the good news is that the Diamondbacks did not rush Jordan Lawler back. We saw them rush guys like Pavin Smith back earlier in the season, and it just never clicked for Pavin once he was at the major league level. We've seen Jordan Lawler come up and struggle against major league hitting before. If you think about last season, it was a big struggle for him. And so I think I think he's going to provide a ginormous offensive spark for this team, hitting in the 6 through 9 spot. We'll see if Ryan Waldschmidt's at bats get cut at all. We're going to find out if Max Kepler and Lars Nootbaar are both going to stay on the roster for a whole lot longer. It kind of depends on how well um, Kepler can hit going forward if the Diamondbacks decide to keep him on the major league roster for the rest of the season. It's going to be an exciting game tonight. Hopefully we get to see Jordan Lawler and Justin Martinez play tonight. I would imagine that we see Martinez at some point during the game tonight, whether or not the Diamondbacks are down 5-0 or up 5-0, just because this bullpen needs a little bit of help right now. They've played, I don't know, 10 or well, I guess they did have a day off in between the Colorado and the Braves series, but this bullpen has been taxed all year. We've kind of heard guys allude to guys are dealing with stuff like Jack Summers. Every single time he talks about the bullpen, he says the guys in the bullpen, all of them have ice on their shoulders after every game. Like a lot of these guys are battling through some stuff right now. And so getting Martinez back, his ability to just be a fresh guy out of the bullpen is going to pay huge dividends, hopefully, in this Red Sox series. The good news for the Diamondbacks is that they're still one of the hottest teams in baseball. If you look at them from the start of the month of July till now, even though they lost that Rockies series, winning this series against the Braves almost makes up for losing 2 games in the Rockies series, but still, as I said last podcast, it's going to be tough at the end of the season if the Diamondbacks finish a game or 2 out to not immediately think back to that Rockies series and go, man, we had 21 guys on base and we're only able to score 4 runs. Like those are the type of losses that will stick with me as a fan for the rest of the offseason. There were plenty of those games in 2025, and there were plenty of those games in 2024. All the Paul Sewald blown saves. The Brewers game where we were up 7 or 8-0 in 24, and then I ended up losing. Just so many games over the past few seasons where it's like, man, if we just had 1 or 2 of these games go differently, we might have made the postseason 3 years in a row. And I hope we're not singing that same sad song at the end of this season as well. Because right now, if you look at the standings, the Arizona Diamondbacks are not in the playoffs right now. Right now, the Padres and the Phillies are tied for the second wild card spot, and the Diamondbacks are 1 game back. So they're going to need to keep pace because guess what? If they get swept by this Boston Red Sox team, they're going to fall back down to where the Marlins are because I think the Padres and Phillies are just going to keep winning. I think the Diamondbacks realistically need to win at least 60%, maybe more of their games the rest of the way to make the playoffs. Right now, if you look at Baseball Reference odd, I think the Baseball Reference odds for the Diamondbacks to make the playoffs has the Diamondbacks at about a 51% chance, the Padres at about a 50% chance, and the Phillies at about a 68% chance. One of those 3 teams and all 3 of those teams are good teams. Like all 3 of these teams wouldn't even be sweating right now if they were in the American League. One of these 3 really, really good teams is not going to make the playoffs, where right now we have teams in the AL who are well below 500, multiple 2 to 3 games below 500 that are either in the wild card race or a game back in the American League. It's just incredible. The disparity of records between these 2 leagues. It just is. And part of that is crucial injuries coming to teams like the Yankees with Judge being out and other teams. But unfortunately for the Diamondbacks, they're in a division with the Dodgers and they're in the National League. So We can complain all we want about how it's not fair that the American League is going to get some piss poor teams into the playoffs, and the Diamondbacks could be on the uh, outside of the playoff race, but they've had opportunities this entire season. And once you play 162 games, if you haven't made enough plays and gotten enough wins to make the playoffs after 162 games, then you just weren't a deserving team. And you can complain all you want, but really it's hard because what do you want to play 200 games now so that we can make the crazy games like the Rockies game and that these outlier performances one way or the other make them count even less? I mean, it's already 162 games. So if you're not good enough to be in the playoffs after 162 games, you just don't deserve to be there. Anyway, let's get to the Braves series, and the number one, or I don't know, number two reason why this Diamondbacks team is even in a position where it's at right now. And it's a guy by the name of Brandon Pfaadt. And I'm going to go out there and say he is the best pitcher in baseball right now. Every time he takes the rubber or takes the mound, steps on that rubber, you know what he's going to give you. He's going to give you 6 to 7 quality innings. He's going to be efficient. He's attacking into the strike zone. He's not seeking strikeouts every single time. So he's able to go longer in games. And he's going to get you out. I mean, we've seen Pfaadt go back-to-back games against the Dodgers and the Braves. In back-to-back games against the Dodgers and the Braves, he's gone 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs. Like it's not like he's playing the Rockies, which if he had, I'm sure he would have locked it down against the Rockies for sure. These are games against the best teams in baseball. This is his second time dominating the Dodgers since coming back from injury. He's dominated the Padres twice, who have been one of the hottest teams in baseball right next to the Diamondbacks since the month of July. And he shut it down both times. He's only allowed 2 runs 3 times, I believe, and hasn't allowed any more runs than that since coming back from injury. Right now, Brandon Pfaadt is first in ERA at a 1.15 ERA since June 30th. He's 5th in innings pitched. He's first in wins at 7 with a record of 7-0. He's 7th right now in expected ERA at 2.48. So the expected numbers are higher than the numbers that he's putting up right now. But I think that's just because he's pitching to contact so much. And then he's 5th in pitching WAR since then at 1.8. And he's gone 32.2 innings without an earned run. He did give up 1 earned run against the Padres. That easily should have been another shutout performance for him, but it wasn't. Brandon Pfaadt is truly pitching like an ace. He's pitching like the guy you want to take the mound in a winner-take-all wild card game. Look, I know Eduardo Rodriguez has been really good this entire season. His expected numbers aren't that great either. Much his expected numbers are pretty scary when you look at him, and you hope that there's just no regression to the mean. You could say, hey, Michael Soroka's been pretty consistent all year. Maybe Corbin Burns comes back and starts shoving immediately. We'll see. We'll see if that happens or not. But right now, Brandon Pfaadt is your ace. Right now, Brandon Pfaadt is the ace of this Arizona Diamondbacks team and is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He is so efficient and simple with how he pitches. He's got a great pitch mix. His fastball, his cutter, his sinker are all working. He's got his changeup and his sweeper and his curveball. Those pitches are all working for him right now. I mean, I keep saying it. every single podcast I do, I pretty much, or at least every other, I say, man, this Brandon Pfaadt contract went from an albatross to one of the best contracts in baseball in 6 weeks. And you know what? I don't know. I think this is more so who I thought Brandon Pfaadt was going to be once he signed that contract back in 2024. I was really high on him after that season. I thought towards the end of the season, he started to get beat up just because Torrey was so desperate for innings that season because none of the starting pitchers were giving length into ball games. Then when Brandon should have been pulled out after 6 innings, Torrey would throw him out there for the 7th. He'd give up a couple runs and then he'd have to take him out. I thought that Brandon easily could have been a sub 4 or like a sub 3.5 ERA that season if he had had better circumstances around him. And I thought, hey, this is a guy who's going to be like around a 3.1 to 3.5 ERA pitcher for his career. Great contract. Way to go, Mike Hazen. Then 2025 happened. It didn't go well for him. He played really well at home, but really struggled on the road last season. I think last year he was like 9-4, 9-3 at home, but then just got completely blasted on the road. This season, he struggled out of the gate. Credit to him. He went down to AAA, figured it out, got everything changed. He changed his delivery. He no longer goes to the over the head windup. Maybe that's the main reason. Maybe it's not. I just think this guy has now figured it out. I mean, you're seeing a guy who looks to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Maybe not Cy Young award numbers like he's putting up right now. But you're looking at a guy that I believe is going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball for the next 8 to 10 years. I think Brandon Pfaadt is your new Zach Gallen, honestly. I think that's who he is. I think Brandon Pfaadt right now is going to be the Zach Gallen for the next 4 to 5 years for this Arizona Diamondbacks team. This is his kind of coming out party, but I think for the next 3 to 4 seasons, I think we're going to see Brandon Pfaadt get even better as a pitcher. Beyond that, who knows? With a pitcher, the wheels can come off at any time, like we've seen with Paul Sewald, Madison Bumgarner, so many guys that we've seen personally in Arizona and just all over baseball. Sometimes the wheels just fall off and there's no explaining it. But at least for right now, Brandon Pfaadt is an ace level pitcher capable of taking us on an incredible playoff run if the Diamondbacks can make it. And he's not the only guy who's been pitching really well. The second game of the series that the Diamondbacks won was because of Eduardo Rodriguez. This season, he's 8th in wins. He's 10th in ERA at 2.71, but his expected ERA is a astounding, eye-popping 4.71. I think that's because he gives up a few hits, but after he gives up hits, he's just so good at not letting those guys score because he is 6th in the major leagues and left on base percentage. You could call it clutch pitching, luck, whatever, but Eduardo Rodriguez is a guy who does not fluster when there are runners on first and second base. Heck, even third base. This is a guy who has the ability to just lock in and make his next pitch. And I think that's why he's been really good this season. And when he gets guys on base, he becomes more of a guy that tries to strike you out. When there's no one on base, he pitches to contact. Sometimes it goes well for him, sometimes it doesn't. But when he has to turn it on and try and get some strikeouts, I still believe he has that 4th or 5th gear, and he's shown it this season that, hey, when he needs to get that strikeout, he's going to get it done. Obviously, right-handed hitters are hitting better against him than lefties, which is exactly what you would expect. But he's just been a workhorse for the Diamondbacks all season. He has 149.1 innings pitched, which is 7th in baseball. So he hasn't just been putting up great numbers, but leaving his bullpen out to dry. This is a guy who goes deep into games as well. And against Atlanta, gave up 2 runs in that first inning, looked like it might be a long night for him, but he locked it in the second inning, and through the sixth inning, only gave up a couple hits for the rest of the night. He was outstanding and continues to be outstanding for this Diamondbacks team. A couple of other players that we got to get to as well. Michael Soroka is battling to get back to who he was in the first half of last season. Yesterday on Sunday, Soroka did go 5.2 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 earned run, and a walk, and had 5 Ks. The slurve still looks really good. It's still generating a lot of whiff. But unfortunately for Soroka, he left the game with his team down 2-1, with the Diamondbacks down 2-1, because Bryce Elder was just a little bit better. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. And so, but he's getting there. You know, Soroka is not the guy who's going to come in and maybe put up the same eye-popping stats that Pfaadt's put up over the last 6 weeks. But Soroka is a guy who you can consistently count on to only give up 1 to 3 runs in every start. He's been so consistent this year. There's usually an inning or a hit where he gets got, but outside of that, he's been the pillar of consistency. And it looks like he's going to get right back to being there. The Diamondbacks pulled him after 80 pitches yesterday. I think if he was fully healthy and fully revamped from his time, I think they probably would have let him at least finish the inning. Maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe we see him in another inning. But Soroka's doing great, and he looks like he's going to get right back to that second or third best pitcher in your rotation. And if you have a guy that's putting up like a 3.2 ERA, that's like the third guy in your rotation. Guess what, folks? That's a pitching staff that can take you on a deep postseason run. And that's a pitching staff that's going to keep you in games for the rest of the season, no matter who you're playing against. Offensively, let's get to the standouts of this series, and we have to start with Nolan Arenado, who, as I touched on before, left yesterday's game with trunk discomfort, which is basically a core. It looks like it was a core injury, something in his abdomen or rib cage area, but it doesn't look like he's going to go on the IL, so that's good news. But Nolan Arenado this month has 6 home runs. 2 of those came against the Braves on Saturday. But he's reached 20 home runs this season, the first time he's done that since the 2023 season. He has a 764 OPS this season, and he's just been everything the Diamondbacks could have asked for when Mike Hazen made this deal. When they made this deal, we didn't know if we were going to get Nolan Arenado hitting 10 home runs with a 690 OPS, but playing incredible defense at third base, or if we were going to get maybe a guy, if he was going to be able to turn back the clock a few years. And guess what? This is the best case scenario the Diamondbacks could have hoped for from this trade. We were never going to get back the incredible 7-WAR player that Arenado was when he was one of the game's best defenders and one of the game's best hitters back in the late teens, early 2020s, when he was putting up just elite numbers. He's been everything the Diamondbacks could have asked for. Leadership-wise, I think his work ethic has made a big impact on a lot of guys. And although I still, I still get frustrated with some of his approaches with runners in scoring position this season, overall Arenado has been just maybe the best move of the offseason for Mike Hazen, and he's had some really good ones and he's had some really bad ones that we've covered extensively. But between signing Michael Soroka and trading for Nolan Arenado, two of the better moves that we've seen Mike Hazen make in his time as a Diamondbacks general manager. All right, let's get to the Phoenix Suns. And the Phoenix Suns schedule was released last week. They have 9 televised games and more if they make the NBA Cup. Their their first home game is against the Warriors. Some things that stand out. Obviously, Phoenix is hosting the All-Star break this year. They have a 7-game homestand in November, followed by a 5-game road trip. They have a 6-game road trip uh, in the back half of the schedule, but uh, those are the main road trips and homestands that they have this year. They have 13 back-to-back games, which is tied for the fewest in the league. And right here, I have the entire Phoenix Suns schedule printed off. And I just went through it right before the podcast and just picked games based on vibes. And what I came away with was a 47-34 record for the Phoenix Suns. And that was just me going through and saying, based on vibes and kind of looking at, oh, like, are they on the road? Is this a second night of a back to back? How good is the team that they're playing? How good do I think this team is going to be at this point in the season? Like, I kind of factored all of those things into consideration. And then I also just imagine the Suns are playing every single team at full strength and that they're at full strength because it's impossible to predict injuries. So I'm just going on what I think the Phoenix Suns are going to be able to do this season. And the record that I came to was 47-34. Or sorry, excuse me, 47-35 this season because I think the Suns team has gotten better. They have pretty good schedule. Only having 13 back-to-backs is huge. Many of those back-to-backs, I believe over half of them are home back-to-backs where both games are played at home, which is huge because they're playing a back-to-back in Los Angeles where they're playing the Clippers and the Lakers, or they're in New York and they play the Nets and then the Knicks. And so um, they won't have any of the late night late nights flying out to get to another city the next day and having to play. I think that's going to be huge for this team. And so I believe that 47-35 is how this team finishes. Last year they finished 45-37. So I'm not expecting a huge jump, but considering all the teams in the West that made moves around them, I'd say it's pretty good because they didn't go out and add a John Morant, who we'll see how that goes for Portland. They didn't go out and add. They didn't go out and add. Let's see. They didn't go out and add a LaMelo Ball this offseason. They didn't go out and add. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the Jazz. They didn't go out and add a Jaren Jackson Jr. And they don't get Fred VanVleet coming back after taking an entire year off because of injury. But you look at the Lakers, who I think will be worse without LeBron. You look at teams like Minnesota. I have no idea how good or bad they're going to be. You look at other teams like Denver. Do they take a step back? Does Golden State take a step back? Do we see a team like, I don't know, New Orleans take a step up? Do we see a team like Portland take a step up? Yeah, I think the schedule plays out really favorably for the Phoenix Suns, and it's going to be exciting to watch them moving forward. Um, yeah, the I believe the most games in a row that I have the Suns losing is they play a stretch. They have a stretch where they play the Oklahoma City Thunder back-to-back nights, which is tough. And then yeah, and then they play home versus Portland, and then home versus Milwaukee. No, that's not that bad of a stretch. outside of the 2 Oklahoma City games. But both of those games are at home too. Both of those games are at home. In their 6-game road trip stretch, they play at Miami, at Orlando, at Chicago, at Charlotte, at Memphis, at Los Angeles. But to me, I look at that and I say, okay, maybe Miami's a loss. I think Orlando's a win, though. I think Chicago's a win. I think Charlotte's a win. I think Memphis is a win. I think Los Angeles could be a win, but that is the last game of the road trip, so I marked that down as a loss. But I had them going 4-2 on that 6-game road trip. And then they have a 6-game homestand right after against Miami, Portland, Oklahoma City, Milwaukee, Toronto. I think they go 3-3 on that homestand. So I don't see any parts of the schedule where this team, unless they're really injured, goes on a big losing streak. So, sorry, my phone's blown up. So, for the Phoenix Suns, I see them improving upon the record this season, and hopefully they can sneak into the playoffs as a 5 or a 6 seed. And hey, maybe there's not as much parity in the West, and they can win 50 games. If I'm the Suns, I would love to. 50 is the goal, but if you finish between 45 and 50 again, I think you're on a great pace. All right, last thing to get to before this podcast is over is the Arizona Cardinals. It's been a few days since the Cardinals played their preseason game against the Raiders. The offense showed out, the defense did not. And I just have to say, it's so incredibly difficult to be a Cardinals fan because what we've seen over the past few years is that they draft these rookies that we get excited about, and then they get injured. Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, Darius Robinson. Now this year, we've already seen Jeremiyah Love, Chase Bisontis, and Carson Beck all get injured during preseason play. It's incredibly frustrating because we want these young guys and need these young guys to develop and play games for this Cardinals team to be good in the future, but they just haven't been able to stay healthy. It's not Mike LaFleur's fault. These guys have to play football. There's always a risk in getting injured. And guess what? With the Jeremiyah Love injury, the reason why you play guys at the beginning of preseason is so that if they do get a 2 to 4 week injury, that they can still be back by the first game of the season. So no problems with anything related to Jeremiyah Love. Hopefully we get to see him and Carson Beck play football before too long. Thanks for watching, guys, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode.